it's getting harder for you to supply oxygen to the
Yeah.
muscle. It's turning into an endurance event. It was a great experience. Eventually, I had to use your second regulator to be able to, and we saw sharks. I have sports experience, but that was definitely a new sport for me.
Okay, guys, welcome to another podcast in Dive and Discover. And then today I have a very special guest, Ahmad, who he's been a personal trainer his entire life, and he has dedicated himself uh, to sports and sports medicine and how to make his physique better in general. So I want to I have a couple of questions for him, and then before we start, I want to first welcome you to our my podcast today. If you want, you can introduce yourself, or if you can give us a bit of information about how you got into personal training, and then your experience in fitness in general.
Sure, of course. I am Ömer. I'm 30 years old. I've been training since like 14, 15. I started with soccer, like just street soccer before that, but I don't count it. After like 14, 15, I started with wrestling and then bodybuilding, kickboxing.
So did wrestling get you into, did wrestling catch your interest into fitness? Is that what it was?
Right, exactly, because wrestling requires a lot of endurance and strength. So I had to build some strength to be able to compete. Also, I was studying in military school. Military education is
Oh,
also heavy in sports. That's actually how I got started because I couldn't do even one pull-up, and my commanders were punishing me by keeping me in like at the weekends I couldn't go out, right? Because
yeah,
I couldn't do even one pull-up. So I was staying inside of the military facility and just trying to do one pull-up, just hanging down like a piece of meat.
yeah,
But eventually, in a month or so, I kept trying and trying. I was asking for help from random people. Can you please like help me go up? I was like, "Ugh." and and then finally did one pull-up. After that, I was doing like one pull-up 30 times during the day.
yeah,
And they were adding up. I got up to 3, 6, 7, 20, 25, and then I never stopped since then. It has been my passion. I was a skinny kid.
yeah.
It was really hard for me to put on muscle.
How many
And
push-ups can you do now in
now,
one go?
yeah, like not now maybe, but in my max, because you know my injury, I torn
Yeah.
my pec. Not now, but before I was getting ready for that military competition, and we were doing like 300 something, like close to
Wow,
300.
that's impressive.
It's more like endurance than strength at that point. You just gotta keep going, just have a tempo and maintain it. It's like a marathon, basically.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so now I just train people, help reach their goals. I trained your family as well, your mom, your brother at some point.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was
Um,
during COVID.
yeah, exactly. And that's how we met actually. I
Yeah.
started cracking you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was really good times. Also, like, I've known that we've went on to San Martin we've tried scuba diving before over there. Like, at least we've done it together for the first time over there. Um,
Right.
and have you ever tried scuba diving anywhere else? Like, or how was your experience like in San Martin?
Yeah, it was a great experience. Um, a lot of emotions, happiness, fear, fear of death. Yeah, it was my first time with you guys, you, your brother. You were my actually diving buddy, which I
Yeah.
feel so good about it. Um, yeah, it was a good. I was trying to get my license. You already had experience before, but that was new to me. I never done it. That was 2021, I think,
I
right?
think so. Yeah, that's what it was.
March or
Yeah,
April.
it was April for my
And
birthday.
yeah, April, yeah, your birthday, exactly. And it was a really good experience. I have sports experience, but that was definitely a new sport for me. I don't have much endurance in water, and
Yeah.
I don't feel as comfortable as you.
I was
But
actually gonna get there to that point as well. Like you said that you don't it's a new sport for you.
right.
From a fitness perspective, what are the physical demands you actually had to you had to go through for scuba diving?
Right. So for scuba diving, it requires a lot of oxygen. So it's an endurance sport. And when you have so much muscle mass, it's getting harder for you to supply oxygen to the
Yeah,
muscle. So it's turning into an endurance event. So you gotta train for that. And I wouldn't say I'm really good at it because my sport is basically like strength-based, explosive, short period of time, try to maximize the effort.
yeah,
But it's completely different. You're trying to use your energy efficiently underwater, trying to stay calm, and there are a lot more equalizing techniques and like communication. They were all new to me.
yeah,
But definitely that oxygen demand thing, I used my oxygen tank so fast because I was
yeah,
excited and I panicked. Also, I don't feel as comfortable as you in the water. Uh, and we saw sharks because I couldn't I couldn't equalize properly and I started bleeding.
yeah.
And sharks, of course, they smelled it and surrounded us. Baby sharks, but still four or five of them.
Oh, a
Uh,
lot. Yeah.
and then I panicked even more. I used even more oxygen, and eventually I had to use your second regulator to be able to
Yeah. To
get
actually
oxygen.
ascend, you were low on air, so we had to you had to use my alternate air source. Yeah.
Exactly. And initially, your brother was my buddy, but your
You know
brother
what?
was cheating.
We'll get to that in a
Yeah,
second, but it's just, what I want to ask you is like
yeah.
if you are physically fit and then you
Mhm.
want to enhance your scuba diving experience, what exercises would you suggest?
I would say definitely cardiovascular exercises are needed. So you
Hmm.
could do like sprinting, swimming. It's more like more than exercises, you got to think about the time and energy demand of that exercise.
I see.
Like getting strong is definitely needed. You should think about the movement patterns, right? What do you do when you're underwater? You're using your legs, you're using your arms. So like maybe pull-ups, push-ups, squat, that kind of body weight exercises would help.
Yeah.
But also when you're doing this one rep bench press wouldn't help you under the water, right?
Yeah.
You don't use that type of energy under the water. You want to repeat the same thing over and over again for a long time
Would that be
because
strength training?
that would be strength endurance.
I see.
Because you need to maintain certain effort throughout the time.
Yeah.
When you're under the water, what is the average time? It's like an hour or so,
Usually let's say 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Okay, so you gotta maintain that strength level for 45
Yeah.
minutes, right? Um, that being said, your strength effort is not like max.
Yeah.
It's let's say 10 is your max. You're trying to put an effort 2 to 3x and maintain it for 45 minutes. So you don't need to do heavy strength training for that, but you should definitely strengthen your muscles, your joints. And another important component would be mobility and flexibility because under the water, you gotta be mobile. Okay, like the water is helping you to be buoyant, but still, if you don't rotate your shoulders properly, if you can't like squat deeper, that would definitely affect your scuba diving experience as well. Getting in the water, getting out of the water,
Or
right?
swimming into the current, because like let's say there's current coming towards you and then you have to swim towards the current, and then that's another strength endurance training.
Exactly. And people I'm training, the most common problem that I'm seeing is the shoulder dislocation. So your shoulder
Mm,
should be really strong when you're using your arms a lot. So I
yeah,
would do like overhead presses and push-ups and rows to be able
I
to
see.
strengthen all the muscles around the joint.
Yeah,
Because shoulder is a really vulnerable joint. When you think about like a baby, like just a toy.
Hmm.
Usually when you're playing with it, it comes out from the arms, right? Like from the shoulder. Like shoulder is a really susceptible joint. It's moving 360 every direction. So that requires a lot of stability to be able to protect it. So yeah, I would say specific shoulder training and mobility training would help.
Okay.
Also hamstring flexibility because like your injury, you injured your knee multiple times. To be able to protect your knee, you really need to have flexible hamstrings and for your lower back safety as well. You're not lifting much weight, I think. What is the weight of the oxygen tank?
I am not 100% sure, but I would say somewhere about like 40, 45 pounds.
Okay, so
Or
like,
it could be a little more than that, but somewhere around there, plus or minus 10 pounds, I would say.
and how many reps you do with it? Like you probably go in the water, get out of the water, like 10 to 12 reps, I guess.
So what I do is we put our tanks, right? Like with our gear on, and then we jump in the water right away. And then we're there for 45 minutes. We come up on top of the boat, and then we're basically we put our gear on the like a place you put your tanks in, and then you switch your tank to a new one, and then you get it, and then you jump in the water again. So
Right.
but we do what I did was at Utila was we would carry tanks to the boat or empty the boat. So we would be doing quite a lot of physical exercise
As an instructor or as a diver?
as a diver and an instructor as well. Yeah,
Yeah, as an instructor, I'm sure you do a lot more because
whole a lot
you're
more. Yes, that's
right.
correct.
Yeah, that is important as well because there's a study about this. If you do the same motion over and over again, your muscles are becoming more efficient with it. It's
Yeah,
actually not contracting as hard because let's say this is the 45 pound, the oxygen thing, right? When you lift it first time in your life, your muscle activation, the contraction is like, let's say 90%. But when you do it the second time, 88, third time, and when you do it like 3 years, 4 years, it's going down to like 50%. Your body learns how to become efficient with it.
I
That's
see.
how you improve your strength. So you
Mm,
need you need the repetition and practice. And when you're doing your repetition and practice, you got to think about your movement patterns. What kind of movement patterns I'm doing in that sport? And you got to get stronger within that movement pattern.
I
if
see.
you're if you're playing tennis, like you got to get stronger from with the side motion, lateral motion. If you're doing wrestling, you got to like get stronger with the throwing motion, spinal extension. So yeah, with swimming, that would be, or scuba diving, that would be mainly arm, legs, like flutter kicks. If you go down, lay down, lift your legs up and do the flutter kicks like that, you're trying to strengthen your core section. You could do the V sit-ups, so your upper body and lower body comes up and goes down at the same time.
Yeah.
That kind of
Speaking of different
core,
exercises, actually, now that I'm thinking, not only our physical demand it needs to be enhanced, but also our lung capacity. I was just thinking about that now. Like, um, is there any exercises would you recommend to work on our lung capacity or breath control? Or which one do you think is more important for diving?
yes, for diving, I think CO2 tolerance is one of the most important thing. And aerobic training and anaerobic training is the other two concepts that we need to focus on. Anaerobic training is basically when you're doing something you don't need oxygen. For example, 1 rep max bench press is
Hmm.
anaerobic training. You don't need much oxygen. You're just pushing it through within that 1 second, 2 seconds. But
Yeah,
aerobic training is you need oxygen when you're doing it because you repeat the same motion over and over again, right?
yeah,
So to improve your aerobic capacity, you need to do endurance training. Endurance training would be sprinting, running, or swimming, cycling, that kind of exercises. And then you should consider the time as well. You say 45 minutes, right? So you can start with 15 minutes and build your way up to 45 minutes to be able to supply the same amount of oxygen during that period of time.
I see.
And your lung capacity will also increase as you're going through that process. A healthy individual should have 13 breaths within a minute when you're resting, when you're not doing anything.
Hmm.
That's the ideal lung capacity. Let's say I'm just sitting down here,
Hmm.
I'm starting my timer, and I'm counting my breath, how many breaths I do within a minute.
Yeah.
If it's more than 13, to be able to supply the same amount of oxygen, I take more breath in, which is not efficient for my body. I'm trying to bring that number as low as possible, ideally under 13, so that my lung capacity is big enough to be able to supply the same amount of oxygen. You can think of the same way with resting heart rate. Your resting heart rate when you're not doing anything, how many beats per minute your heart is actually beating, right?
Yeah.
It should be a healthy individual, a fit individual doing scuba diving. I would say under 60 beat per minute. So it would make 1 beat per second, right?
Yeah.
When you're resting, when you're not doing anything. And to be able to supply, let's say, 5 liters of blood, your body, your heart beating 60 times. But if
Yeah.
you can bring that number down to 50, let's say, you're still pumping 5 liter of blood, but with
With
less
50
beat,
beats. Yeah.
yeah, with less beat per minute.
I see.
That's what we are trying to do. We are trying to have stronger contraction in the heart and still pump the same amount of blood with
I
less
see.
contraction.
I see. That's
So
pretty cool, actually.
yeah, so your body is becoming more efficient by improving your resting heart rate and your breath count per minute, your lung capacity. And how you do that? By creating energy, by creating that the right environment, by creating the demand in your body. How can you create that demand in your body? By increasing your heart rate. So if you try to do high intensity interval training, you're increasing your heart rate, you're recovering from it, you're increasing recovering. So when you repeat that over and over again, your heart learns how to contract harder, how to contract more efficiently to be able to supply oxygen to the system. And when you're doing this, you need breath as well. So you need to take the oxygen in through your nose, mouth, and your lung capacity is also increasing as you do that process.
Sorry for the technical difficulties,
Yeah.
but I want to touch up on the nutrition side of the sports that I was doing. Um, so in terms of getting nutrient into your body. What I've realized is when you're diving, you are in a really fast-paced lifestyle over there. So you get up, you make yourself your breakfast, and then you are on the boat for hours. And then all you have is either you bring snacks with you or you have water, right? So in terms of scuba diving and how does a nutrition play a role for a diver's overall fitness and performance? Like, should a diver have carb-based diet rather than a protein-based, or more of like a keto diet? What would you recommend?
So first of all, when you move, you need energy to be able to function, right? But where that
Hmm.
energy comes from is dependent on what you eat in terms of macronutrients. Macronutrients, fat, protein, and carbs. And so proteins are every one of those macronutrients has a special role. Protein serves for your muscles. When you get enough amino acids, you can grow your muscles. When you get enough carbs, you're actually giving glycogen to that muscle so that the muscle can contract and you can do what you want to do.
Hmm.
And also fat is mainly responsible from the hormonal regulation and brain health because our brain is 90% of health, 90% fat. So we all need those macronutrients, especially when you're doing an endurance-based sport, because 45-minute activity requires a lot of glycogen to the system, which means carbs. So you need
Yeah,
to eat enough carbs to be able to.
I was eating a lot of soda crackers.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
You will crave for that anyways. When you
yeah.
when you get out of the water, you will feel so hungry. You will feel hungry specifically for carbs like
Yeah.
fries, burgers,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah. I was craving a lot of fried stuff, but the best part is that I was not gaining weight.
Right. Because
Yeah,
yeah, you're burning more than you eat.
probably.
Yes. Yeah, under the water, we don't realize, but we lose a lot of water from the body, a lot of electrolytes. So it comes with sodium, potassium, magnesium. So you gotta get enough electrolyte as well, because every time when you sweat, you're losing those minerals from your body.
And
So
also
not,
you're losing heat from your body too. So like it takes a lot of calories to bring that heat back into your core, or at least to keep your core as the ideal temperature.
of course. And here, there's a quick math that we need to do. You gotta get a lot of calories, but when you're getting those calories, you don't want much volume in your stomach.
Yeah,
Because, so like, let's say I'm eating this much of food, which have 2000 calories. And on the other hand, I'm eating like a clean homemade food, which is 3 times more in size than this, and it's the same calorie. Which
yeah,
one should I pick? I should always go with the less volume because I will go down. I should feel comfortable. My stomach shouldn't be completely full, right? I
yeah.
will try to get as many calories as possible with the minimum volume, minimum amount in size. So
That's right.
yeah, that's the trick with any endurance sport. So when you're doing marathon running, for example, that's why they use those like sugar gels.
Hmm.
When they're running, they're like sucking it. It has a lot of calories in it because it's full of sugar. I don't know, have you ever tasted that? It's like,
No, I have not. I actually wanted to grab one yesterday. I was craving it. It's just I was also making a research about how much sugar there is in there, or I've never tasted it, so I really want to give it a shot.
yeah, it's not something that you can enjoy because it's like really dense, heavy sugar inside of it. It's not
Uh,
something that you can eat like a snack.
I see.
You should really need it. You should crave for it. And that's why those endurance athletes, they use it during the event. So when they're running, they're using it because they need a lot of sugar in their body.
I see.
But if you eat it now, you'll probably like, "Ugh, what is that?" Like
Yeah,
you will want to throw it up.
I see. Um, First, I also want to touch up on the exercise part of the scuba diving, or at least dive focused exercises. So, like as a scuba diver, um, how can a diver enhance their fitness routines or make it more enjoyable so they are always they're staying fit, but also at the same time they are enjoying it. So personally, myself, I love sports. I will go for I would play football for hours and then until I get tired or until I won't be able to stand up. But plain running, I won't be able to do that for not even 10 minutes. So, is there any sort of tips or tricks you can give for scuba divers?
Yeah, of course. I would say the most important thing comes with, I guess, the social component because when you have people you like in your group, I think there's a high chance that you will enjoy it. For example, in my experience, when I do it first with you, I really enjoyed it because I'm with my close friends and we are in a new place, like you're
Yeah.
going for a vacation. It's a really nice setting. And our instructor was a really nice guy. I think people play a huge role in scuba diving.
I have a couple more questions for you before I let you go. What would be the like one of the motivational tips that you can give to people, not just scuba divers, but just like even your clients maybe, or people who are willing to get into fitness, but they don't have um, the tools or they don't have a gym or it's cold outside, what would be the motivational tip that you would want to give to people?
I would say always compete with yourself because in this in this like I would say era, We are lucky and we are not lucky because we are lucky we have a lot of information and exposure to social media and different people in the world, but at the same time it comes with a price and disadvantage as well because we compare ourselves with them and
Yeah,
we think that we are not good enough. So
yeah,
we can learn from them, that's a blessing, but at the same time we can compare ourselves with them and then just disappoint ourselves. So I would say always compete with yourself. Start small. It doesn't matter where you're at right now. Try to get just a little bit better than where you're at yesterday. Improve your fitness, flexibility, your overall strength, and build connections, meet with good people. Don't only focus on just doing the activity itself, but also focus on the values that comes with it, like having friendships, right? You
hmm
may be bad at scuba diving, you got injured when you go there, like you were trying to get your license and everything. You had a unfortunate event, but at the same time you built great relationships. You got your certification, and then you enjoyed your time. It was a great experience for you. I think
yeah,
there's always something positive to see. We just need to shift our focus from the negative to positive. In any case,
100%.
yeah, in any case, we can see that, I think. And long story short, I would say don't compare yourself with others. Start small and try to get better at what you do.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. I really appreciate that. Also, I want to ask you one last question. If you could, I know you get paid to do this, but I just want a little short comment on this section. If you could give um, the perfect exercise for a scuba diver, what would that be? Let's say I'm right beside the dock and I have like scuba tanks, I have um, like I don't I don't really have much, but at the same time I'm limited with resources in terms of weight. But I have the ocean right beside me. So if I had one exercise that I can repetitively do day by day to physically stay active and be fit, what exercise would you recommend?
Yeah, I think keeping it small is really important. Also, you need to distribute your workout considering the adaptation that you want to get. What is the adaptation that you want to get? Cardiovascular health, endurance, right? Strength is the second one, and flexibility is the third one. You want all of those three. To be able to improve your flexibility, you don't need much. I would say like 10 to 15-minute max before you do your physical activity. Just do your basic stretching. You can do the toe touches, you can improve wherever you feel the tightness. That's also important. I can't give like a single recipe for everyone because everyone's problems are different. But wherever
Yeah,
you feel tight, just Google it. Ask ChatGPT, how can I improve my tightness flexibility for that specific muscle? I feel really tight at the back of my leg, for example, hamstrings, or I feel really tight around my neck. How can I improve my flexibility and mobility in that joint? That you will come up with a lot of exercises. Just stick to a few of them, keep it simple, and frequency is really important with flexibility. So you don't want to do like 15-minute, 20-minute stretching every single day. You should do 30 seconds here and there before you get on the boat. Just reach your toes, hold it for 30 seconds, and continue your day. And you will do it again before you eat. You will do it again after you pee. Like just spread
yeah,
it
yeah,
out.
yeah.
During the day, if you do that like 5 minutes, your flexibility will improve a lot within a couple weeks. And the second thing would be the endurance. Endurance, I would say if you want to get good at a specific sport, the best way to get good at that sport is actually doing it. So if you want to get good at water, you gotta go to the water and swim. Just repeat that movement patterns, right?
Yeah,
I would say the best way to gain endurance in water, just swim. And you
just
can,
swim.
exactly, you can do like interval training, which means you're trying to go as fast as possible within a minute or so. You're resting. and then you recover from that high intensity and you repeat it. So that would be like a 10-minute hit training. If you want to do endurance training, just maintain a tempo and try to sustain it for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes. You can start with 10 minutes first, it's okay. And you will try to improve it over time. That could be running as well. But swimming will help you more because you will be in the water and you'll be repeating that movement patterns over and over again. So it will serve you in the best way. And there's also a strength component. So you should be able to comfortably lift your body in different positions. That would be like a pull up. You're trying to pull your body over your head. That would be an overhead press. You're holding the oxygen tank. You're trying to press it over your head. It's the opposite motion. You're trying to pull and push. That would be push-ups. You're trying to push your body on the horizontal motion. You're trying to row. You're trying to pull something. That would be horizontal pull. Squat, you're trying to strengthen your legs. You could do lunges. Just grab something on your back, like a heavy backpack or oxygen tank, whatever. Try to squat 50 times if it's light, 20 times it's heavy. And if you have access to the gym, that's great. Just do the machines and do the free weights, dumbbells, barbells. But you got to improve your strength. I would say when you're improving your strength, the most important thing, keep your rep ranges short and try to maximize the weight that you're doing. So I wouldn't do like 50 reps. I would do max 20 reps, try to get down to 10 reps and increase your weight. That would help you gain strength. And when you're doing it, you should always consider those different movement patterns, like the overhead pushing, overhead pulling, horizontal pushing, horizontal pulling, squatting, hinging. Hinging would be like you're bringing your hips back and you're trying to reach your toes. You're stretching your glutes and hamstrings, the backside of your body. So there are a lot of exercises you can Google as well, but that's the main idea.
It was a pleasure talking to you. So, guys, if you want to hear more about our journey with scuba diving, please subscribe and like my YouTube channel. And then, of course, I will be sharing a link down below on Omar's YouTube channel as well. He has really good exercises that you can take a look at and that you can learn from. And then if you have any questions, please just ask me in the comment section, and then definitely we'll be more than happy to answer you guys. So have yourself a really good day, and let's keep diving.
Great.